I mean, he would do things on the track, and it was devilish. I mean, he did it on purpose.
Darrell Waltrip's alongside of him.
There's the hook. Bang.
Earnhardt came down, caught the right rear of Darrell's car, and both of them spin. Darrell hits the car hard.
Waltrip was livid. He was absolutely livid about that.
There's Darrell Waltrip's Chevrolet, and it is torn up. It can't go any farther.
I said, what in the world, man? You almost killed me. And you know what he said? He said, shouldn't have tried to pass me on the outside.
Darrell Waltrip only won one more championship after that little run-in that he had with Earnhardt. After that is when Dale Earnhardt's rise to prominence became very rapid.
Well, Rusty, we're seeing Dale Earnhardt's name continuously popping up in all these rivalries. What is it about the Intimidator that made him such a popular rival?
Jerry, he wanted to win so bad that he was always making somebody mad. He was always aggravating people like crazy. I'm trying to think of the time, I believe it was at Bristol, Tennessee, when he spun Terry Labonte out, knocked Labonte across the line, and afterwards said, I was just trying to rattle his cage. He always did things like that.
All right, let's continue our countdown. In what was a landmark event in NASCAR's history, a team of racers led by Richard Petty formed the Professional Drivers Association. In 1969, the new union boycotted the inaugural Talladega 500, citing unsafe conditions on the track.
The problem was the track was much too rough for the 200-mile-an-hour speeds.
You run 4 or 5 laps, tires, Goodyear and Firestone was just not ready for that kind of speed.
The major Ford teams left and the major Chrysler teams left.
Even Goodyear talked to Bill and tried to get him to cancel that race, and he wouldn't do it.
You could understand where France was coming from. He had sold tickets to the race, and he stood his ground.
Using a field of alternative drivers, the race proceeded with Richard Brickhouse earning the victory. Bill France gave the fans in attendance a credit for a future race as he further enhanced his autonomy over the sport.
Bill France let everybody in the world know that he ran NASCAR.
Had he not done that, I question what would have happened to NASCAR. That was an incredible decision.
Dale Earnhardt is into the wall. Earnhardt hit the outside wall hard and rolled down the back straightaway.
Daytona was cruel to Earnhardt. It's frustrating to get so close to winning something that important.
I didn't think I had it won till a checkered flag fall, and I didn't win again, so I got to try the 15th year.
Although Dale Earnhardt tasted success at Daytona, the coveted 500 eluded him for 19 years with an inexplicable string of bad luck. Then in 1998, at the age of 46, he finally won the race.
Wasn't my year. Won 23 races, never won the Daytona 500.
Was he cursed? Maybe, because he had weird things happen to him.
Well, Earnhardt looked like he had things in command. All of a sudden, his Chevrolet just slows, and he goes up into the second group. Something happened to that car.
He put himself in that position to win a lot of times, and circumstances just didn't allow it to happen.
We run over some debris and cut a right rear tire down just a quarter of a lap away from victory. Much you could do about it.
For Earnhardt, it was all these freak things, and it just, finally snapped, and it all came together.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. The most anticipated moment in racing.
Just feeling it, feeling his emotions. Everybody, I think, in the grandstands and on pit road said, they got chills running up and down their spine.
Every crew has come out to the edge of pit lane to congratulate the man who has dominated everything there is to win in this sport.
Everybody was happy that the man, after 20 years of trying, had finally won the Daytona 500.
You'd be able to say, I just won a Daytona 500. Not very many people can do that.
Then, just 3 years later, Earnhardt was killed on that same track during the final lap of the Daytona 500. His legacy will forever have a place in the heart of the NASCAR nation.
We felt we had a great shot of winning the Daytona 500 again. And, at the end, it was a hard hit, but nothing I felt, life-threatening to him, and the rest of it was a nightmare.
The death of Dale Earnhardt was a cataclysmic event. He's one of the South's great martyrs.
His history and his reputation and who he is probably bigger today than it was when he was still racing.
Allison and Yarborough, two of the biggest names in racing history. And when they collided on the track or off, things got ugly. In 1979, in what was the first live flag-to-flag TV coverage of the Daytona 500, Cale Yarborough took out leader Donnie Allison on the final lap and then took on Bobby Allison.
That's the race that really turned NASCAR on.
Donnie and Cale were going for the lead on the final lap. They're beating and banging going down the backstretch, and they end up going into the wall as they enter third turn.
Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes from the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They slide down to the inside. They're out of it.
Richard Petty comes around, breaks like a 42-race winless streak, wins the race.
And Richard Petty will win the Daytona 500.
I was so hurt and so upset because here's the third time I should have won this race, and I hadn't won it yet.
Spinning, sliding. The hopes for Donnie Allison vanish. Cale Yarborough trying to win his third. He's out of it.
Cale and I had a couple unpleasant words, and that was it. When Bobby shows up.
Appears we may have a fist fight. We see drivers and helmet safety officials trying to jump in there and separate them as tempers have really flared after this amazing incident.
He ran at me, yelling that it was my fault that this wreck happened, and he lunged at me and hit me in the face with his helmet. And it hurt, and it surprised me. So I climbed out of the car, and he went to beating on my fist with his nose. My story, and I'm sticking to it.
If you ask people who won that race, a lot of people say, I don't remember. But they remember the fight.
The Bruton-Smith and France family feud revolves around power and control. Bruton would purchase speedways, and Bill France would counter for fear of dividing a sport. Through their differences, both sides continue to coexist in the interest of growing NASCAR.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
The rumor has persisted for years and years that Bruton-Smith was going to organize a rival association. And when Bruton began to add these speedways, France retaliated.
You have International Speedway Corporation, which is the France family, and they also own NASCAR.
International Speedway Corporation started buying up racetracks to counter Bruton, and they did that very successfully.
It's an old-timer feud in that Bill Jr. sort of handed responsibility to his son, Brian, who's a businessman. And Brian knows that for NASCAR to grow and NASCAR to be great, he needs SMI.
We haven't always seen eye to eye with everybody over there with Bruton and his team, but what we don't disagree on is trying to do the right thing at the end of the day to build the sport of NASCAR.
I've been a strong advocate of making it better, and we haven't stopped yet, so we'll continue to do that.